Breaking tonight, the U.S. and Iran agree to a 2-week ceasefire at the 11th hour. The deal announced after Donald Trump's extreme threat to wipe out Iranian civilization.
It's very shocking. He's literally talking about a massive war crime.
The details of the agreement and the question, can it hold? How the surge in fuel prices could affect your grocery bill.
The fresh stuff is where you're going to see the immediate impact.
Stunning new images of the moon from that historic lunar flyby.
Wow, they are incredible.
And the crew's long-distance calls with the space station and the U.S. president.
From CBC News, this is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault.
Thanks for joining us as we follow breaking news tonight in the Middle East. The U.S. and Iran have agreed to a 2-week ceasefire contingent on Iran reopening the Strait of Hormuz, pausing, on paper at least, the war that's been raging there for more than a month. The announcement came after a flurry of negotiations as an 8 p.m. deadline set by Donald Trump loomed. Miss it, he threatened Iran, and, quote, a whole civilization will die. The agreement was announced with about 90 minutes to spare. So there's a lot of work still to do to find a permanent end to this war, and a lot of questions, too, about Trump's extreme rhetoric. Katie Simpson is in Washington tonight. So, Katie, this went right down to the wire.
Truly, Adrian, this has been a remarkable 12 hours. Donald Trump went from threatening to wipe out a civilization, an unthinkable thing for an American president to say, to reaching a ceasefire deal that includes reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Iran is framing this as a win and a humiliating climb down for the U.S. At the locations the U.S. president threatened to destroy, Iranian state TV showed large gatherings, human chains at power plants, and on bridges, too. The regime seeming to dare Donald Trump to make good on his ultimatum. And in the end, he did not. With less than an hour and a half to spare, Trump announced a deal on social media, calling it a double-sided ceasefire, writing, subject to the complete, immediate, and safe opening of the Strait of Hormuz, I agree to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks. Mediators in Pakistan brokered the deal, according to Trump. He says the U.S. is willing to work with Iran on the 10-point peace plan it proposed. On social media, Iran confirmed it agreed to the ceasefire. For a period of 2 weeks, safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be possible via coordination with Iran's armed forces. Hours before the breakthrough, the fighting raged. Iran fired missiles at Israel and across the Gulf region. Israel says it targeted railroad tracks across Iran. A synagogue in Tehran was destroyed. And the U.S. targeted military sites on Karg Island, where Iran exports 90% of its oil. Even if this ceasefire holds, Trump will face intense scrutiny over this social media threat posted hours before the deadline. A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again, he wrote. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will.
It's very shocking. It really raises questions about his fitness to be our commander-in-chief. He's literally talking about a massive war crime.
Donald Trump right now is acting in an unhinged, dangerous way that threatens the stability of all of civilization.
As calls get louder for Trump to be removed from office, there is widespread condemnation for his words, including from the Pope, the first ever American pontiff.
To remind all that attacks on civilian infrastructure is against international law, but that it is also a sign of the hatred, the division, the destruction the human being is capable of.
The backlash is also fairly intense among prominent right-wing influencers, including Candace Owens and Alex Jones. They peddle conspiracies and incredibly offensive material. That's an understatement. But they do have sway with some in that MAGA supporter base. Even they're saying Trump should be removed from office.
And Katie, these peace talks are formally expected to begin on Friday. Walk us through them.
Yeah, Pakistan has invited all parties to Islamabad for the start of those formal negotiations. They hope it will lead to stability in the immediate future and peace in the long run.
All right, thank you, Katie. That is Katie Simpson in Washington. So let's head next to Sasha Petrusik, who's in Jerusalem tonight. Sasha, what's the reaction been to the ceasefire from the region?
Well, Adrian, if you looked up in the sky, you wouldn't know there was a ceasefire announced tonight. The booms continued, the interceptions continued here in Jerusalem, in Israel, and in various countries in the Gulf who are dealing with missiles and drones even throughout the night. Questions also remain about what will happen in Lebanon. The Pakistani negotiators have said that Lebanon and Hezbollah, they are included in this ceasefire and in the talks. But, Israel is about 30 kilometers into Lebanon with a complicated ground operation. So can that just stop? And will it stop when those two sides are facing each other right up against one another? All night long, there was a lot of anxiety throughout this region, throughout the Gulf in particular. People were told to stay home right up until tomorrow. They are breathing a sigh of relief, but they're also skeptical whether this will hold.
Yeah, understandably. The ceasefire really just a very first step in the broader negotiations to end this war. But those are likely to be so tricky.
That's right. Iran just isn't trusting of this entire process. It's not trusting of Israel or the United States, and it wants guarantees. It does not want to see the kind of situation that's been faced in Gaza. That ceasefire has been on for 6 months now, and yet that fighting, the airstrikes, those have continued almost daily. Iran doesn't want to be attacked again, and it's trying to figure out how to guarantee that that does not happen. In fact, in its statement that was released tonight announcing and guaranteeing, accepting this ceasefire, it has said that its finger is still on the trigger. Adrian?
All right, Sasha, thank you. That's Sasha Petrusik in Jerusalem tonight. We're going to talk a little bit more about those negotiations with Janice Stein, the founding director of the Munk School of Global Affairs. Just how real is this ceasefire? That's in about 20 minutes. Now, earlier, Prime Minister Mark Carney was asked about Trump's comment that a whole civilization will die tonight. Here's how he responded.
Canada expects all parties in this conflict, in any conflict, to respect international laws, the rules of engagement, and that means not targeting certainly civilians or civilian infrastructure. And we urge all parties in this war to follow those responsibilities. It's a point we've made publicly and privately.
Asked if he regrets his initial support of the war, Carney said Iran was a threat to peace and a state sponsor of terrorism, and that ending that was desirable. But he added Canada makes a distinction between that and obligations under international law. The war in the Middle East is already pushing fuel prices higher in Canada, but experts warn even with a ceasefire, that same sticker shock could soon show up in the grocery aisles, too. As Nisha Patel reports, shoppers are being warned to prepare for noticeable hikes in the cost of food.
Everything's going up 50 cents to $1 a pound.
The fuel crisis from the Middle East war is driving food prices higher, starting with imported produce and some meat and dairy.
The fresh stuff is where you're going to see the immediate impact.
At Winnipeg grocery store food fair owner Munther Zaid says shippers and suppliers are adding fuel surcharges, forcing him to pass those costs on.
This, a couple of weeks ago, we had it on for 75 cents for a 2-pound bag of onions. We just got a shipment in. We had to raise it to $1.
It's becoming more expensive for trucking companies to transport goods, with the price of diesel jumping 40% since the war began. That's rippling through the food supply chain to grocers.
We're now at the point where we can't hold off any longer, and what consumers are seeing at the fuel pump is what the grocers are seeing at their back doors.
And shoppers in rural and remote communities will feel the squeeze even more.
We should anticipate that there's going to be an increase in food inflation in the months ahead. You just have to be transparent and honest about that. There's just no magic bullet that can erase that from happening.
Though experts say with Canada's growing season around the corner, buying local seasonal produce could provide a buffer for grocery budgets.
As we get into the spring, our fresh fruits and vegetables aren't coming from as far away, and so the freight impact will not be as profound.
After years of soaring food bills, shoppers are preparing for yet another financial hit.
I am a little more cautious of what I'm buying.
I'm going to double down on my meal planning and prepping, so just making sure that I'm using everything I buy.
After the announcement of a 2-week ceasefire, oil prices fell 15%. But until energy markets stabilize long-term, consumers and the economy will pay the price. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
NASA has unveiled some of the striking images taken by the Artemis II crew during their historic lunar fly-around. So the astronauts snapped about 10,000 photos capturing parts of the moon's surface previously unseen by human eyes and their view of Earth as they traveled further into space than anyone has gone before. The astronauts are now heading home, but as Karen Pauls tells us, they're still making history.
Earth setting behind the moon, craters never before seen by human eyes, a rare solar eclipse, stunning images sent back from Artemis II.
Now those great pictures are coming down, and wow, I mean, they are incredible.
Fragile and interconnected, we copy.
After a busy lunar flyby day, the astronauts got some downtime, but still made more history.
Integrity, this is the International Space Station. How do you hear?
The first ship-to-ship communications between a spacecraft and the International Space Station.
So we have a view of you right now, and it is making us so excited.
There were some technical questions, but also more banal ones.
We want to know, what are you eating?
So I had spicy green beans for lunch.
I had a mango salad this morning.
The communication, an important test for future spaceflight endeavors.
When you're on the highway and there's the little rest spot that you can pull over and, charge your phone or get a drink or go to the bathroom, we're going to need that in space too.
The astronauts also debriefed scientists about their observations on the far side of the moon.
I was able to see into the crater wall on the east side, and the shadowing there was actually neat, so I could see layers of shadow.
Establishing a presence on the moon and eventually
in a late-night call, U.S. President Donald Trump congratulated the crew, singling out Canada's Jeremy Hansen.
I spoke to a very special person, Wayne Gretzky, who I think you know, the great one. And I spoke to your Prime Minister and many other friends I have in Canada. They are so proud of you.
Orion has now left the lunar sphere of influence, which means Earth's gravity is stronger than the moon's, turning attention to re-entry.
We still have to ensure that Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy return home safely on Friday evening, so we're pretty focused on that.
NASA says the weather is favorable for re-entry at this point, but they are monitoring for rain, which can interfere with communications and visibility and pose a safety risk. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A rare but potentially deadly bacterial infection is on the rise in Canada. Data compiled by CBC News shows cases of invasive meningococcal disease are at their highest level in more than a decade. But as Lauren Pelly tells us, there are steps you can take to protect yourself.
I just thought maybe she had a headache.
Sandy Hilmerson says her 11-year-old daughter was first diagnosed with an ear infection in April 2024. Then symptoms like a rising fever and vomiting quickly got worse.
She wasn't even coherent.
It turned out Leah had bacterial meningitis, a dangerous inflammation of the membranes around the brain. While rare, similar infections are on the rise in Canada, and in Leah's case, she spent more than a week in hospital.
We are grateful that they were able to recognize what was going on.
Meningitis is often caused by invasive meningococcal disease. Data compiled by CBC News shows the bacterial infection hit a record low during the pandemic, then started rising again to at least 155 countrywide infections in 2025. The bulk of those cases appeared in Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, and Quebec, marking Canada's highest tally in more than a decade.
If somebody says you should get your meningococcal vaccine, then you should probably get it.
These infections only turn dangerous when a common type of bacteria enters the bloodstream, leading to conditions like meningitis, sepsis, and organ failure. Vaccines help prevent serious illness, but
one vaccine doesn't cover everything.
Different provinces take different vaccination approaches. In Manitoba, an ongoing outbreak is driven by an unexpected strain.
The serotype W was one that we had not seen a lot of before, so we changed our routine vaccine program a couple years ago in relation to that.
Still, countrywide vaccine uptake has dropped in recent years.
It's very worrisome that our coverage rates have changed.
While this illness remains rare, its impacts are severe. The death rate for invasive meningococcal disease can be as high as 14%, and infants and young adults are among those most at risk. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
A Cree Nation in Alberta is trying to stop a separation referendum in that province, arguing in court the campaign behind it violates its treaty rights. Stephanie Cram explains why.
Here's the Sturgeon Lake.
Outside the Edmonton courthouse, a First Nation takes a stand. The chief of the Sturgeon Lake Cree Nation trying to get an injunction to shut down a petition advocating for a referendum question on whether Alberta should leave Canada.
You take an attack on one treaty, you're really attacking them all.
The First Nation alleges the province and federal government are failing to uphold treaty rights, arguing a referendum on separation can't happen without its consent.
Well, our treaties were signed with the Crown, British Crown, and the responsibility was passed on to Canada to uphold that obligation, and that can't be unilaterally passed across.
Democracy is on trial in an Alberta courtroom.
But the lawyer for Stay Free Alberta, the group behind the petition, disagrees.
These people might just as well be seeking an injunction to prevent citizens from writing to their MLAs or writing to the Premier. That's not how democracy works.
Stay Free Alberta is not involved in this hearing. For weeks, it's been collecting signatures. It says it already has more than the 178,000 required to trigger a vote. Alberta's Premier has said if they're verified, she will move forward with a province-wide referendum this fall.
It feels like we're very different from the rest of the country, and we don't really have a voice and we don't really have a say. And I think we'd just be better off on our own.
But this elder is concerned what separatism could mean for future generations.
And I'm here for my children, my grandchildren, and my great-grandchildren, because if we don't stand and speak for them, we'll have lost it all.
If the First Nation is granted the injunction, Stay Free Alberta says they have a plan to appeal directly to the Premier, so this may not be the end of the debate. Stephanie Cram, CBC News, Edmonton.
U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance is in Budapest tonight to throw his support behind Viktor Orban's re-election campaign. And Vance brought along strong praise from his boss for the Hungarian Prime Minister.
Mr. President, you are on with about 5,000 Hungarian patriots, and I think they love you even more than they love Viktor Orban.
Well, I can't believe that. I can't believe that because I love Hungary and I love that Viktor. I'll tell you, he's a fantastic man. We've had a tremendous relationship.
Despite the endorsement from the Trump administration, Orban trails in the polls ahead of Sunday's election. Controversial leader is known for his nationalist policies and hardline opposition to immigration. The rapper, formerly known as Kanye West, is blocked from entering the UK.
He's always been controversial, but the last 10 years has really kind of ratcheted it up to another level.
Why the UK government stepped in now? The Prime Minister unveils a multi-billion-dollar infrastructure spending plan.
10 times this amount of investment is probably necessary.
The details and the criticism next. Plus, pretty odd spot for a 5-year-old's birthday party.
My favorite part was when they crashed on the electronic.
His passion for recycling in our moment. We're back in 2. U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer says he expects negotiations for the Canada-United States-Mexico agreement to continue past the July 1st deadline. At an event about the future of trade, he said steel and aluminum imports are among several issues the Trump administration wants to address.
We've worked really closely with the Mexicans over the past year. They've resolved a lot of issues. The Canadians, we have some issues with them that haven't been resolved yet.
The U.S. began formal negotiations with Mexico last month, but talks with Canada have not officially started. Well, Prime Minister Mark Carney has announced the first list of projects his government will fund as part of a plan to help build and repair infrastructure across the country. Ottawa will spend billions of dollars over the next 10 years. But as Marina von Stackelberg reports, it might not be enough.
Prime Minister Mark Carney, in a suit and safety gear, tours the construction site of a new community centre in Brampton, Ontario. This is one of several infrastructure projects Ottawa has picked to help pay for.
The government will announce a dozen projects worth $300 million in federal funding this week, from new sports and recreation centres to new water treatment plants and reservoirs that provides the necessary infrastructure to enable new home building.
The federal government has also earmarked money for another community centre in Vancouver. Other projects include water and sewage treatment facilities in all the Maritime and Prairie provinces, road and utility work in the territories, and street improvements in Laval, northwest of Montreal. All part of a larger plan to spend $51 billion over the next decade on Canada's infrastructure.
It's a welcome signal that the federal government, of course, is recognizing how essential this local infrastructure is.
The Conservatives accuse Carney of just re-announcing money. They say Canadians don't need the Prime Minister at a podium, they need results. And the money, while welcome, might not scratch the surface after decades of governments failing to upkeep roads, pipes, transit, bridges, and buildings, according to this expert.
That shelf life has come to an end for a lot of this infrastructure. So yes, 10 times this amount of investment is probably necessary. The numbers are mind-boggling.
This announcement is likely political. A number of the projects are in ridings the Liberals and Conservatives have battled over. And this money comes less than a week from 3 important by-elections. The results could secure Carney a majority government. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Ottawa.
Canada's housing crisis is grappling with a major labor shortage.
We're getting a pool of skilled laborers that otherwise wouldn't have even considered the trades as an option because it wouldn't have been an opportunity for them.
We meet the Canadians trying to solve it. The UK has banned the American rapper formerly known as Kanye West from entering the country. His travel application was denied over a series of anti-Semitic comments and pushback to a concert he was set to headline. Griffin Yeager takes us through the reaction.
I'm so gifted at finding.
Once one of the top rappers, now trying to make a comeback, but not without major pushback. Ye, previously known as Kanye West, has been denied entry to the UK for previous anti-Semitic remarks, and the Wireless Summer Music Festival he was set to headline in London, cancelled.
Words hurt. Words are actions. Rhetoric is important.
Britain's Home Office saying Ye's presence would not be conducive to the public good. The UK Prime Minister posting the artist should never have been invited to headline.
He's always been controversial, but the last 10 years from 2018 has really kind of ratcheted up to another level.
In recent years, Ye's denied the Holocaust happened, released a song called Heil Hitler, and sold a swastika t-shirt on his website. The rapper apologized in January with a full-page ad in the Wall Street Journal, saying his bipolar disorder caused psychotic, paranoid, and impulsive behavior that destroyed my life. Still, Ye's festival spot sparked backlash.
This is thanks to the government. It's no thanks at all to the festival organisers who invited him. They persisted even as each of their sponsors, one by one, dropped out of this.
The festival's organizer defended its decision to book Ye and says multiple stakeholders were consulted in advance. The decision to ban the rapper from the UK has sparked debate about free speech.
I think if you start to limit artists based on what they say, you kind of create a bit of a censorship.
Britain isn't going to let someone who is associated with Nazism talks freely about Hitler. That just was never going to happen.
But in LA, a more welcome reception. Over the weekend, Ye played 2 sold-out shows, drawing tens of thousands of fans.
You made a kingdom fall in love.
And in March, the rapper released his first LP in 4 years, hitting number 2 on the Billboard Top 200. Griffin Yeager, CBC News, Toronto.
Let's turn back to our top story now. The U.S. president's announcement of a temporary ceasefire with Iran. So that news was delivered around 6:30 Eastern time this evening. That's about 90 minutes before a deadline Donald Trump had set, demanding Iran reopen the Strait of Hormuz or else, quote, a whole civilization will die tonight. Now Trump says a 2-week ceasefire will allow the sides to reach a deal to end the war. So let's bring in Janice Stein to talk this one through. Janice, people hear 2-week ceasefire, the first instinct might be relief, but how much stock do you put in this? What determines whether this is real?
Adrian, this is a very fragile ceasefire. After it was announced, Iran continued to fire missiles at Israel. Israel is firing back. It's no surprise that it is fragile. This was done through Pakistani intermediaries. There's zero trust on Iran's part of the United States, and I think that's mutual. So this is we will know more in the next few hours about whether this ceasefire will hold or not.
So in a situation like this, it seems clear that both sides already kind of claim wins of sorts, but
Yes.
What sort of position does this leave the U.S. and Israel in, and then Iran? Let's start with the U.S. and Israel.
This is, frankly, Adrian, just a huge strategic defeat for the United States, no matter what else comes after this, because Iran is functionally in control of the Strait of Hormuz. The United States has been one of the prime defenders of the freedom of navigation in international waters. Before they started this war, Iran was not in control of the strait. It is now, and there's no conceivable plan really without a huge escalation that will dislodge Iran. So big defeat for Israel, less so because that is not one of its prime objectives, but none of its objectives were achieved either. There's no agreement on that highly enriched uranium, nor on missile production, nor on what Iran can do to support its proxies. If anything, Iran comes out of this war with the wind at its back.
And it's interesting because Iran's foreign minister issued the statement saying that safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be possible via coordination with Iran's armed forces. What does that detail tell you?
Yeah, but, and you know, in negotiation with Iran, so really that's just, it's a euphemism. That's how they got to the ceasefire. But effectively, it's saying Iran's military controls the Strait of Hormuz.
So do you see several sticking points in the days ahead? Do you see something that you're like, watch for that?
Yeah, oh, for sure. So one big one is not the statement by Iran's foreign minister tonight, which was short and crisp, but the longer one by the National Security Council, which is responsible for overall direction, 10 points. There's no conceivable way that the United States has agreed to those 10 points, even though the Iranians said the Pakistanis have told them that the United States had. There are huge sticking points here. One, no U.S. bases in the Middle East and in the Gulf. That's not conceivable, frankly, Adrian. Two, reparations for the war. That's not going to happen either. And third, of course, a reiteration by Iran of its longstanding position of the right to enrichment. All of those are big ones. The biggest are the bases in the Middle East. I think we have to take with a real grain of salt that there's anything agreed to at all except a 2-week ceasefire to buy everybody time to step back from the edge of the cliff that Donald Trump put himself on earlier this morning.
It seems like in the history of wars that the message about a ceasefire sometimes takes a while to, you know, to trickle down to the people who are firing the weapons. So when you hear reports tonight of drone and missile interceptions in the Gulf region, do you just say, okay, just give it a moment or two, or does that alarm you a bit?
Well, we have a very specific situation right now in Iran that military command is decentralized. as a result of those decapitation strikes and assassinations. So I think it's entirely possible that it will take several hours to get the message through. Communication is so tough. If this is still going on tomorrow, Adrienne, then I think it's much more worrying.
And, you know, to be optimistic for a moment, if this leads to something like a longer peace, because I think using the word permanent feels impossible in this area, in this region, what changes in the world because of what has just happened over the last month or so?
Well, peace, I don't think, is on the table here. This is cold hostility at the best. But what changes, first of all, Iran is in control of 20% of the world's oil and LNG and can turn it off or turn it on. I mean, that is an amazing win for the Iranians. Secondly, all those other issues have to be negotiated. It's going to be very tough for Donald Trump, given the rhetoric he's used over these last 3 days, to simply walk away from all of this and leave Iran with that big win without getting anything in return. So I'm very grateful there was a ceasefire tonight after the kind of threats that we've never heard, never in U.S. history have we heard a U.S. president issue these kinds of threats. But there is a very, very tough road ahead here, Adrienne.
There is indeed. Janice Stein, as always, thank you for taking the time for us.
It's such a pleasure.
After the break, we will dig into some possible solutions to Canada's labor crunch in housing construction.
It's not about removing the human from this process. It's about working smarter.
How adding more tech might change the way we build. Next. Ottawa has pledged billions to fill an urgent need for homes. Small problem, there aren't enough workers to build them.
The way that we've been addressing it hasn't created a solution, so let's look at it differently.
Nick Purdon looks at 3 potential solutions, from changing the way we build to finding new pathways into the trades.
If I could be part of the solution, that would make me extremely proud. I would probably be the best person for the job.
There is not enough skilled trades professional in the pipeline to meet the demand of what we need in our economy.
Can we start taking some of these robots and bringing them to site? It's not about removing the human from this process. It's about working smarter.
One of the biggest issues facing the country is the housing shortage. That's why the federal government has promised 4 million new homes by the year 2031. But the question is, who's going to build them? There's a major shortage of construction workers, 250,000 of them set to retire in the coming years. So what can be done? How do you get more people into the trades?
Onika Campbell is learning carpentry. She says she never thought she could be part of the solution to the shortage of skilled labor.
So yeah, I'm just hoping to find a job and be able to do well for myself.
Nice. Okay, yeah.
I mean, that's true for everybody here. Each person is part of an intensive and free 8-week training course. But the surprising part is, to qualify, you have to be going through tough times.
When I got accepted to the program, I was weeks away from eviction. Like, notice already there. Essentially, I was just waiting for the sheriff to show up and tell me that I had to go. I would have just been on my own, homeless, really.
Onika says she wants to build houses because she understands the housing crisis firsthand.
I had to work 3 jobs to maintain myself and be able to pay rent. You have to sacrifice so much time just to be able to sleep somewhere and have a roof over your head.
Onika and all the trainees here are paid minimum wage. I mean, that's how they're able to be here.
So they're going on that site tour tomorrow with
Emma Wood is the director here. She works for a nonprofit called Blue Door. And their Construct program has trained 800 participants in the last 5 years. And nearly 3/4 of them have found jobs in the skilled trades.
We're getting a pool of skilled laborers that otherwise wouldn't have even considered the trades as an option because it wouldn't have been an opportunity for them.
So you believe if we're going to solve this problem, these are the kinds of ways we need to think?
We need to think outside of the box. So we know there's a problem, and the way that we've been addressing it hasn't created a solution, so let's look at it differently. We're working with all different people who have at some point in their life been told no, and we're saying, no, this is your opportunity. We're gonna give you the tools, and we're gonna show you how to use them, and then you can be that new force.
Take Duval Smith. He hasn't even finished his training, and he's already working part-time.
I needed to change the course that my life was heading in. I used to get in a lot of trouble with the law and stuff like that. I've served some time, significant amount of time.
Are we helping them?
If I can be part of the solution where I help build these affordable houses, which in return gives some families some relief financially, all the best.
Here at Construct, they're getting more workers into the trades, and they're set to expand their programs across Canada. Still, the magnitude of the skilled labor shortage is massive.
Perfect. It's really getting good suction.
And here at the MacEwan School of Architecture at Laurentian University in Sudbury, Ontario, they've got a different perspective on how to solve the shortage.
We need to start to think of ways that we can actually reduce our labor when it comes to building homes. And it's only by finding efficiencies through technology that we can actually start to lower the cost of construction.
That's Stephen Bates, professor of architecture. And for him, the solution has to do with changing the way we build.
I think this industry, the construction industry, needs to adopt technology. It needs a different model in terms of how we're building homes to be able to meet the demand.
One of the things Stephen does here is develop robots for construction. For example, today he's working on Warthog, a highly mobile robot with different arm attachments so it can carry heavy things. Austin Barrett is one of Stephen's students.
So is this the kind of robot that would actually go to a housing construction site?
Yeah, so like it's fully reinforced for a construction site. It's sealed off, so like dust and all the water and rain, and all that wouldn't affect it. Hopefully this would work like a regular human would on a construction site.
It can do the work of how many, you figure?
I would say like 2 or 3 at a time.
It can speed up the whole process.
You can only load so many concrete bags from A to B. This can just do that 24/7, even just change its own battery.
Austin might not be what you picture when you think construction. He's a computer science student.
Wait, that seems definitely slower.
It does,
That definitely seems slower.
Yeah.
Stephen says that robots will soon transform what some construction workers do.
The construction worker of the future is one that can start to integrate technology through AI, through robotic programming. We can actually attract young, tech-savvy adults into this industry that otherwise not interested in construction, but certainly interested in construction when you merge that world with technology.
Stephen acknowledges this is a massive change, especially for an industry that he says still builds in much the same way as they did in the 1950s.
Ready to go?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
I mean, take a look at this. A prototype robot that can recognize and lift different panels for walls or roofs, and then place them exactly where they're needed.
Perfect.
Backing away.
But the reality is, robots alone won't solve the labor shortage. In Canada, more than 1 million skilled trade workers will be needed over the next decade. So how do you deal with a gap that big?
You can easily slice yourself. You got to be very, very careful with this.
Well, you try to get them young.
What I'm going to do, I'm just going to
These are some of the thousands of high school students enrolled in the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program.
straight on. I'm putting all the pressure on the blade.
Victor Chen is 17, he's in grade 12, and he actually needed some convincing that the trades were for him.
I'm putting up my senior year of high school to be able to join this program, to be able to gain all this experience. It's hard to wager both all of this experience and all the memories and experiences you would have made in high school as a senior as well. Now being in the program, I can tell myself 5 months back that 100%, this is the program, this is where I belong.
Do you see yourself working in construction in the future?
Oh, 100%.
100%.
100%.
No doubt.
I can see myself 10 years down the line, working in the trades every single day, getting up at God knows when, just to go to work every single day.
You're all in?
Yes, sir. I'm all in.
Yeah, so that means we got to adjust this.
Okay, great. I'm going to let you keep going. I'm going to check in maybe in a little bit.
Katerina Mayetta is with the Toronto Catholic District School Board. And she says in the past, the school system almost discouraged kids from joining the trades. And she spent 6 years trying to change that.
That's one kind of crisis that we've been trying to deal with at a high school level, getting more students interested, promoting, having them understand the benefits of getting into the skilled trades for a long time. In a lot of school settings and just in general, we frame success only by the yardstick was university. Hi guys, how's it going? Good.
Katerina says one big change is that more young women apply to the co-op programs than ever before. Why did you choose to do this?
Carpentry, because I like the idea of hands-on stuff, and I also wanted a career that's not going to get taken over by AI.
That Brie Bregues is here matters, because right now women make up only 5% of the workforce in the skilled trades. And getting more women on the job is the other solution they're working on here.
You did an 8th by accident. It's okay, no worries. Hey, this is why we're learning.
But Angela Norman, the trainer here, who's worked in the business for years, understands the challenge.
The first time I was on a construction site, the men on site, when I was at my very first day, thought I was the boss's secretary. Unfortunately, there are times where I have to outwork them, or I have to prove the amount of work that I do even more or faster or better than some of my coworkers. That's all we're gonna do.
Angela says that things are better now. I mean, not perfect, but that she's a trainer here has already changed.
My teacher, like, she's a girl. I was surprised when I first got here. I was like, dang, like somebody who's actually teaching me is a girl. Even though she's a girl, she was able to go against all these other boys and still come out at the top. And so I'm trying to do that too.
What would you say you hope for?
I hope for obviously a career out of this, but I hope to be able to grow in this career, like expand and start my own businesses.
With a problem as big as Canada's shortage of skilled trade workers, there's no single one-size-fits-all solution. Instead, these are some of the people and their unique approaches fighting to solve the problem.
And some of the people in Nick's story are pushing for a focus on prefab. So build pieces in a factory, truck them to the site, then assemble, especially in the north where winter is long and construction season is very short. Coming up, a BC kid has his 5th birthday party at, get this, a recycling center.
My favorite part was when they crashed all the electronics.
Yeah, crashing the electronics, that's good. His love for sorting trash, next in our moment. This little guy is Himit Rai, the young boy right there in the middle, screaming with excitement. He's screaming because he's at his favorite place in the whole wide world, that is the Ridge Meadows Recycling Facility in British Columbia. So Himit had his 5th birthday party at the center, celebrating another trip around the sun, doing what he loves the most, recycling, of course. His epic party makes our moment.
I wanted to have my birthday at the Ridge Meadows Recycling Facility.
He's always had a very big passion for recycling. The summer tour that we did was so fun. And so they were just joking, like, oh wow, like we would love to host your birthday party here.
My favorite part was when they crashed all the electronics. We saw the tipper truck. I got to dump it all out by myself, and we saw the conveyor belt doing all the cardboard. They gave me 2 hats and a pin that I'm wearing.
They give it to their employees once they've been there for 5 years.
That's a pin for 5 years, because you're 5 years old.
He had the best birthday. I'm so glad that he has the self-confidence to know recycling and to correct other people, including myself, when I don't do it correctly.
It's my favorite thing to do because I like making the world clean.
Himit, happy birthday. You are amazing. And there are wonderful people at every end of this. Firstly, they opened the facility on the weekend specifically for this birthday party. And it seems that Himit likes to go through the neighborhood and let people know when they haven't sorted things out properly. I wish you would come to my house. I screw it up all the time. From all of us at The National, happy birthday. And thank you for being with us. I'm Adrienne Arsenault. Take care.